My show. Peace, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Infinite Sisterhood Podcast Live. Listen, if you're tuning in for the third time, friend, you are making history. You are. You are. And when you come in, please let us know where you're tuning in from. We like to know where our viewers are from. Especially if you're international. If you're international, let us know. Let us shout you out. But without further ado, because time is of the essence, we want to go ahead and introduce ourselves for any of our new viewers, and then we're gonna jump into this topic, y'all, because it is hot and heavy. Okay,
piping. Okay, piping.
hot and heavy. Make sure y'all have y'all mitts on. Okay, because you don't want to burn yourself. Make sure you blow the tea. Okay. But without further ado, my name is Queen Mother, Mrs. Lacey Taylor, and I am the eldest sister.
I'm Dominique, aka Dom. I'm the middle sister.
I am Am, aka, well, I just feel like Amber, right? My bad. I'm Amber, aka Ams, and I'm the youngest sister.
And we are the Infinite Sisterhood podcast. So today's episode, we are talking about boundaries. Listen, boundaries, they're a must. Without boundaries, you might as well put welcome on the front of yourself and the back of yourself, because child, you a doormat.
For anyone.
At that point.
Okay. But I want to share with everybody the definition of boundary. And I just want to share with everybody the topic that had dropped in my spirit earlier today. And I just want the sisters to expound on this topic, and maybe we could share, some moments on where we didn't have boundaries and the times we did have boundaries and how our lives changed. So let me share my screen. Okay. And I want to share with everyone the definition of boundaries. Okay. So here we have right here, let me see if I can zoom in. Yes, the definition of boundaries. Boundary, plural noun, boundaries. Because listen, sometimes you got to have more than one boundary, okay?
Plural, okay? It's a plural thing.
Okay. So the first definition, it really stood out to me. And it reads right here, a line that marks the limits of an area, otherwise known as a dividing line. Mm-hmm. Screenshot that if you must. Okay. So, sisters, how do y'all feel about that definition? What does that definition say to y'all?
A dividing line. Okay.
Let us not speak at once.
No. To me, that shows, like I said, the limit. How far you can go. So we have limits everywhere, from the maps in our neighborhoods, the maps of the United States, maps of the world. Boundaries are put up because it's showing you how far you have within a certain parameter to exceed. You can't go beyond that boundary. I mean, you can, but there's no telling what could happen. There's consequences if that boundary is exceeded. And I think that when it comes to relationships, I'm a fervent believer in this. When it comes to relationships, everyone should have boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Now, sister, when you say relationships, are you meaning, just love relationships? Are you talking about familial relationships?
Every relationship, down from the relationship you have with yourself, to your friends, to your family, to your work. every relationship should have a boundary. You should not be an island for
Mhm.
everyone to access from all sides. There has to be a boundary set up saying, this is the entry point, this is the exit point, this is how far I'm willing to go, or how far we have, and beyond this is the unknown. There has to be boundaries. I'm a fervent believer in that. There has to be boundaries. Without that, you open yourself up,
Mhm.
like I said, to the unknown.
You're muted, sister.
Sorry, and you were so right indeed. Um, Listen, what stood out to me, Sister Dominique, you said boundaries first with self. Okay? Because sometimes, especially if we have a problem with making wrong decisions, we got to set up boundaries for ourselves.
Yes.
To say, self, we will not allow this to happen to us, or we're not going to allow ourselves to be put through this. You know? How about
But
you, sister? Oh, I'm sorry,
I just,
sister.
if I could just interject, I'm sorry, Era, I don't want to keep you
No,
on a
you
hotline.
good.
But to go back to that boundary with self is not only what you just mentioned, sister, but it's also how you speak to yourself,
Yes.
what you give you,
Yes.
what you're pouring into yourself. You should have a boundary. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and call myself stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic, you better than that. I'm not gonna sit here and call myself uh dumb, or just or berate myself in such a way.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do better with me. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it's not just self talk, but everything you put into yourself, you give yourself. You should have a boundary with it. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, when I think of boundaries, I think of um like when you draw the line in the sand, like that's what it gives me. That's the visual it gives me. And like Downey stated previously, if someone crosses that, usually you like if you cross this line, like see what happens across the line, you'll hit them or attack them, whatever. Or at least that's what I used to do. But in a more positive way, you draw the line, and if they overstep that, like, okay, I did it. What now? They're going to experience the consequences, and the consequences, whatever you may choose to be. Hopefully, it's not violence because we evolved, we're grown, but that can be cutting them off, or like I watched on TikTok, you can give them a bereavement card and say, I'm sorry for your loss, and sign your name on it, because honey, you done lost me because you crossed a boundary that I firmly set, and you really test me. And as far as going to, like, the relationship of boundaries, I really agree. And I love when Dami touched on, and you as well, Lacey, touched on for yourself. That is so important. And I also watched a TikTok today, that you need to talk to yourself like you are your best friend. So, we tell our best friend, girl, you're beautiful. Like I tell y'all, like I pour into y'all, I need to do the same thing for me. Because why am I doing something for somebody else but not for me? That doesn't make sense. That's crazy, right? So I think boundaries for yourself is very important. And that's something I feel you should, when you start doing, if you don't have boundaries and you're going to start it, you need to start building with yourself. And then you'll be able to build with others and keep those boundaries and firm so people won't try you.
Exactly. And now when we say try you, um, meaning
Yes.
they won't belittle you.
Yes. They won't
Because
disrespect you. They won't, like, basically they'll take you seriously and not be like, whatever, I don't care what she says, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. And that is just disrespect. And we
mhm,
deserve respect as individuals. And if you're in a relationship, if someone loves you and they call yourself whatever to you, respect is number one they should give you. If they don't respect you, then they don't love you.
Right.
Plain and simple.
and you know what? That word respect, respect.
I'm about
You
to say
know,
that, girl. You know what that means to me. Okay.
okay, listen, respecting self. When we were children, we were part of this program called Sisters of Respect.
I wasn't. I wasn't.
And
I wasn't. I
oh,
wasn't
you were
old
too
enough.
young. Oh,
Yeah.
Amber was
And
too
when I was
young.
old enough, it ended.
It was me and Dominique, sorry.
I
But
still
during Sisters of Respect, They taught you how to respect yourself, and they taught you how you cannot respect others without respecting yourself. And when we talk about boundaries, that goes into respect, of course. That's the number one. Because if they respect you, they will adhere to your boundaries and they won't cross them. They'll do whatever it takes to not cross those lines. It's not like, it's not to say that they're, walking on eggshells and they're tiptoeing around you. No, it's just saying, you know what, I got to be mindful that I don't, speak a certain way to Dominique, or speak a certain way to Amber, because I know, this may make them feel this way, and I know not to, talk to Amber this way, or I know not to, you know, be overbearing, regardless if I'm her older sister or not. You know what I'm saying? She has boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I have boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and boundaries, they're so important. Go ahead, sister.
No, I was gonna say, Lacey, I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's what I feel like we should bring up because within just our sisterhood, we had to set boundaries as adults
We did.
because that transition when you're blood sisters and y'all grew up in the same house together, like these two ladies know me for 28 years, about to be 29, and so that transition from childhood to teenage to adulthood, it can be trying and testful because we're
Mhm.
changing and we're evolving creatures. So when I can't do the same thing to Lacey or Dominique that I did when we were in elementary school or middle school because now they're like, "What? My mindset's not that way," you know, and my
Mhm.
mindset shouldn't be that way either. So we just basically had to relearn each other and re-educate each other on who we are as adults and women and what our hard boundaries are and respect them. And like Lacey, when she was saying some of our boundaries, those are some of my boundaries. Like for me, if you're gonna talk to me, so you have to talk to me a certain way because if I perceive you to come at me wrong, you shall get these horns, okay? Because I'm a whole Taurus. Like
Yes.
you will get it. So they had to learn that, and like they had to learn me. I had to learn them. Knowing Lacey's boundaries and what she wants. Okay, Amber, I know you like to be in my space and be in my bed and hug and cuddle with me. But Amber, I'm married with kids now. Let my baby be with me. My baby with me. You know, it's like okay. And same thing with Dom. It's like okay. I mean, I am very affectionate. I like to be around people I love and like love on them. And
And
so
there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get it
yes,
twisted.
thank you. Thank you. Period. Thank you, sis. That's like see, that's what we right here. We right here. But it was like basically the same thing with Dawn. And you know, like Dawn be out working, going to school, and she just needs some me time. But I'm like, I haven't seen you all day. I missed you. How are you, friend? And then Dawn was like, hey Amber, like I just need like an hour to just recuperate. Like I've been a lot running, ripping all day.
Yeah.
Like just give me peace. Like I would love to talk to you, but I just need my time. So I just had to learn to give Dawn that time once she was, you know, where she was at, so I can talk to her about my day or my problems, whatever. So that's what I wanted to say. But yeah, I think boundaries for sisters are important.
Got to.
I agree, and I just want to touch on something you said, Amber. When you were talking about boundaries, you said we had to re-educate each other.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to setting boundaries, if we think about people as in just learning as an education of them, like how much can you say that you know about Amber, or how much can you say that you know about Queen Mother Lacey? You know what I mean? That's the education of them to me, like how much I know about y'all. So those boundaries, and when you guys set those boundaries with me, it's not hard for me to follow those boundaries with y'all because I know that if if it wasn't important to you, you wouldn't bring it up or you wouldn't speak on it
Mm-hmm.
because that's how much I know y'all. So I think for really anybody, when you set boundaries with people, you have to think of it as, oh, I have to re-educate this person on who I am. Because for me, um, just in my personal life, my sisters can attest that I've grown a lot from the time I was 18 years old till now. Which I'm sure I mean, if you haven't, you might need to talk to somebody.
Right.
But let's say in these last 5 years alone, I've grown a lot as well. And I've had to re-educate everybody on who I am and
Mm-hmm.
how I perceive myself. Um, but that's just for them to know me better and so that we can have a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yes.
Because I feel like our relationship should have mutual benefits. Like, who wants a relationship that's one-sided? As we mentioned, we keep saying this over and over again. Who wants a relationship that's one-sided? If you want a full
Exactly.
relationship, you have to know more about that relationship, the people in it. So re-educate yourself when it comes to boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to, girl. Apparently, I was on TikTok today because I saw on TikTok Steve Harvey, and he said though a one-sided relationship is a toxic relationship, and that's important
Mm,
to know because if you are giving your all, if you're always the one who is initiating, saying, "Hey, let's talk about it. Let's set boundaries. Let's respect each other. Let's try and work on a relationship," and you're the only one doing it, that's a toxic relationship because that person's not feeding into you. That person's not giving back to you. If you
Mhm.
are the one in the relationship making the other person happy, that is toxic. And you should not be in it. Period.
Reciprocation.
Hold on, do it again,
Listen,
sister.
reciprocation.
don't have
Yes.
no cell
Okay.
phonics, okay?
Yes.
Listen, the whole definition of boundaries, that dividing line. If it's one sided, sis, there's no dividing line, bro. There's no
Exactly.
dividing line.
Exactly.
A topic that had dropped in my spirit today was don't call me Pinocchiana or Pinocchio. Okay. I'm not on no strings. The only lines or strings that are in my life is the dividing line that divides you and I, and that's called the boundaries. Boundaries are so important. Boundaries, like Dominic said, they're important in every relationship, with your family, with your love interest, with friends, with children.
Yes.
I have boundaries with my children. My oldest is 11. He knows to ask before giving me a hug. He knows not to just come in and rush me with a hug. He says, "May I have a hug?" And I say, "Of course." Or, "You know what? Not right now, son. I'm not in the hugging mood." But guess what? When I'm in the hugging mood, "May I have a hug?" I'll ask him. It's the boundaries. And I know my son has boundaries. I encourage him to have boundaries. I encourage my siblings to have boundaries with me. You know what I'm saying? I encourage my siblings to have boundaries with other people because let me tell you, without boundaries with other people, the insecurities and the fears of others will bleed on you. You listen, you'll be excited about something and next thing you know it, you're anxious about it. It's like, how did I get this blood on me? That's because their
Mm-hmm.
insecurities bled on you. You got to have the boundaries. What will I share with others and what won't I share with others? You
That's it
know,
right there.
what am I willing to talk about? What am I not willing to talk about? What are
Mm-hmm.
my negotiables and non-negotiables?
And sister Queen Mother, I like that you brought in how you have boundaries with your kids because I feel like some people are like, "What? Like you're a mother, you're a parent, you have boundaries with your kids? Like who does
Oh
that?"
yes.
But what you're doing is she's teaching her child what a healthy relationship looks like. She's teaching her child that you have the right to have boundaries. Even though I'm your mother and I gave birth to you, I just cannot do anything I want to do with your body because it's what your body, your rules. And that little boy
Yes.
knew that since that boy can talk, he knew that saying. I said, if I would come and grab him because I just want to hug him, he's a cute little 2-year old baby boy, and he was like, "No, Allah, my body's my rule. I don't want to hug." I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me." And then I'll ask him because he got me correct many a times at
Yep.
his young
He was
tender age. He didn't.
he'll
Hey,
get you get all them
yes,
ends
because
together.
that's why because Queen Mava, my sister Lacey, taught her children, and so now he sees the example of healthy relationship So when he goes out into this world and creates relationship with other people outside of
Mm,
his family, he will know how to have boundaries. If he knows that someone does something that he does not like, he will not stand for it. He will speak up on it.
period.
And
And
that's beautiful.
also with boundaries is advocating for yourself in a healthy way. My
Mm-hmm.
son knows the difference between talking back and advocating for himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He
I'm glad
knows
you
how
brought
to
that up.
listen, he knows how to stake his claim.
Yes.
And and I love that because I know when he goes out into the world, he's not going to let just any and everybody persuade him to do something, or he's not going to follow the crowd. He's going to
Right.
think for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was tested when he was at the summer camp. Well, not summer camp, this spring break camp he was at. He saw the children doing something. He said, it didn't look safe, so I didn't do it. I just sat it out. And I said, you are so wise. You are so wise. It's the boundaries. What am I willing to do and what am I not willing
Mm-hmm.
to do?
And
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to just say this real quick, since they ain't that much
Yeah.
go. But it's crazy. I've met so many people in just life in my 30 years who say that they don't know how to have healthy relationships, or they don't know how to
Mm,
have healthy boundaries. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to say no, and they don't know how to stop saying yes. I I think it's sad because a lot of times when you dig into those people's lives, and you trace back where that lack of boundaries came from, some authority figure told them in some way, shape, or form that they could not have a boundary.
mm.
Girl.
And I
Get out my
think
head, Dominique.
it's
Girl,
important.
listen, y'all, it's
I was
getting
about to say
deeper.
that.
It's getting deeper, y'all.
I was
Get
about to say
comfortable.
that.
We getting deeper into it, y'all. Go
Mhm.
ahead, Sister Dominique.
Mhm.
It's important that we encourage children to have boundaries,
Mhm.
because where do you think this idea of, no, not the idea, but where does self-concept begin?
Mhm.
In the
Right?
home.
It begins in the home, and it begins in childhood. You don't That 16-year-old didn't just become self-conscious when they turned 16. They've
It
been
happened as early as age 3.
Mhm.
But see, when we take their ability to choose, their ability to, like you said, advocate for themselves,
Mhm.
we take their ability away to form boundaries. And then you wonder why you have this 50-year-old man or this 50-year-old woman who may have their personal life in their career altogether, but everything else is in shambles. Or
Mhm.
maybe it's the opposite. Maybe their home life is good, but their career life is in shambles because they don't have boundaries.
Ooh,
Mhm.
It gets so deep.
it gets so deep. Go ahead, Sister Amber.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be long because basically, Sister Dom, that's why I told her to get out of my head because I was literally gonna say that. But it starts in childhood and how, like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to my childhood or our childhood. We could not advocate for ourselves in our household. It was considered a form of talking back. Whatever our parents said, that was the law, and that's what happens, and that's within a lot of people's household. But the thing is, yes, your parents are right sometimes, but they're not right all the times. And what they think may have happened or what they think they saw was their perception, doesn't mean it was actually what it was. And so when you take away that part for your child to advocate for themselves, they feel like you take away their voice in a way, you know? And so when you out here in this world, you feel like you can't say anything to nobody because you think this is a bad consequence. Because I know for my life, that's what I thought. I thought I couldn't speak up against a manager or speak up to a teacher or whoever, any authority figure that was in my life because I thought it was going to be a negative reaction because of what I dealt with as a child. Because if I talk back, you will get hit back. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, it really built up a fear, but really me going to school and learning about employee rights and what we can and cannot do, and if someone trying to fire you, whatever. I know Georgia is a no reason, whatever, they can let you go for no reason. But still, I have rights, and if certain things are not right in my work life, I have a right to say so. And if you want to fire me, oh well, that's your loss. And so then I started taking that to my personal life, and I'm growing that way. But like that's why I even talked when I thank you, Lacey, for bringing it up, because I think that's so important. Because like Dom said, like it all starts at childhood. And if you take something away from a child, and because these childhood's called the development years for a reason, because you're developing, your brain's developing for you to become an adult, so you can function in our society and hopefully be successful. So if you're beating your child, if you're taking away your child's voice, or demeaning their feelings, what do you think they're going to be like when they get older? They're either going to be a reflection of you, or they're going to be the result of the trauma that you put on them. And that's why Dom was like, that's why you have so many grown people with so many issues, because a lot of things stem from childhood. And it's not saying, oh, I blame you, mom, I blame you, dad, I blame whoever raised you. No, you're not blaming it. You're just like seeing it for what it is, say I forgive you, and you start healing and working yourself and being your best version of yourself you can be for to everybody you encounter. Because if you think of it like this, like Dom told me one time, she was like, think of you as a character of someone else's story in their life. And what character do you want to be? Do you want to be the antagonist, or you want to be the protagonist? Which one? You got to choose. How do you want to appear in people's lives? And once you figure that out, you'll see that you'll start making better choices, in your everyday life and with people. So yeah, that's what I say.
Most definitely. Because at the end of the day, people that you encounter, whether it be for, years, maybe it's for a season, that's a chapter in our book at the end of the day. And with that being said, when we talk about boundaries, I recently taught a class that, we were healing from childhood trauma. And I have this example called your personal policy. And with your personal policy, it's like this. So say you go to a hotel, like your favorite hotel, maybe like the Ritz-Carlton, one of those fancy hotels. Mm-hmm. They have a policy on every wall, every door. It can say no smoking, no pets, or whatever it may be. You do these things, you got to pay this, and you're subject to being removed from the premises. Mm-hmm. Why can't we have the same thing? What makes us different from these establishments? People that come into our lives, people that come into these establishments, they've got boundaries. And if they cross them, there's consequences, period. Sometimes the consequences may be minuscule, sometimes they're very severe, but regardless of what it is, there's consequences for your actions. And when people know that there's consequences for their actions, they move a lot differently. Mm-hmm. However, when they see that I can just do whatever and I can say whatever, and I'll still have my place and things will just be what it is, no ma'am, no sir. We've got to have boundaries. Lack of boundaries, it will literally drive you insane. Mm-hmm. It drove me to a mental hospital. I had no boundaries. I allowed, the people that were supposed to love me the most to just, I allowed myself to absorb their fears and their anxiety and, their insecurities. And next thing you know, I was doubting myself, feeling worthless. But then I had to remember, that's not my issue. My problem is not theirs. When we don't have boundaries, we absorb the toxins. Mm-hmm. We're sponges. At the end of the day, you don't stop being a sponge once you become an adult. Listen, the longer you're alive, the more you're going to absorb, because things are ever evolving, are ever changing. And when they're not, it's dead. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day.
Yes.
And when things are ever evolving, ever changing, Policies are being updated, policies are being renewed, boundaries
Mhm.
are being changed.
Good. Yes.
We
I
know
like
we allowed this before, but we under new management, we don't do that no more. We
yes.
don't let
There's
that.
a new clause in the contract.
Yes, and I just want to give you a definition because it's all I learned in business school, and you can Google it. But the definition, or how not definition, but how a business is considered, like in accounting and just ownership on paper, is that it is its own entity, meaning it is its own person. It's a person. So when you have a business, it's like you have a baby and you're growing it and watching it grow. So that's why when Queen Mother was like, what's the difference between you and a business? Is nothing, because a business is considered a person just like you are. So, like
Mm.
you said, as you are evolving and time goes on and things are changing, the surroundings are changing, you should be updating your clauses, your contracts, your boundaries with people around you. And I understand, I know when Sister Lacey, when she was first really setting her boundaries and she was like, because I can't take anymore, people were not very forthcoming with her.
They was fighting it, child. They was
The
fighting it.
And
girls was not here for it.
they were not, yes, the older people, they were not respecting her. They were not hearing it. They were like, what do you know? I don't need a boundary, because that's how you was raised. But that's not how I'm raised. And if you decide in your life to live your life like that, doesn't mean I have to. We're two different people.
Period.
Just because I may come from you, come from your lineage, doesn't mean I'm going to accept everything that you accept in your life.
The facts. The
That's all I
facts. This is not your mama's generation.
Thank you. Thank
We're
you.
not raising children like children was being raised, back in the 50s, 60s,
And it was a different
70s, 80s, and
time.
90s.
Yeah, it was because, and also you think of it as a different time. So people are raising their children during the time and the circumstances that was around them. So as you evolve, you have to train, or you train and raise your kids differently as time progresses. That's why you have a lot of millennials. They're becoming parents. They're trying new parenting methods. I'm not yelling at their kids. I know Queen Mother, she's doing it. She teaches in her university about
Yes.
was it
It
calm,
makes
peaceful
you.
parenting? Yeah, HME. It
It
makes
makes
you.
you.
It
Yes,
makes you.
it's the calm and peaceful parenting. It's a different approach. We use psychological theory. I'm not going to jump into the theories to protect the integrity of the course. However, in calm and peaceful parenting, we teach our children boundaries. We teach our children communication with the 3-2-1 method. Okay. It encourages them, well, everybody as a family, to stop, think, and then speak about it. A boundary that I have, we can't talk if your emotions are high. If your emotions are high, take a step back. That's a boundary I have in my home. Because when your emotions are high, that's all that's being transferred is just emotions. There's no logic. That's a boundary. But yes, but when I first, came to the realization that, I am a premium brand. Not everyone deserves access to me. I started setting boundaries with my family. And yes, a lot of my family members, they did not receive it well, but they had to get with the program. And there's some family members. Listen, one of my boundaries, I said, please do not reach out to me after receiving this letter, because I handwrote letters to all my family members.
She showed it.
And I said, if you reach out to me, I will block you. And there's still some family members to this day who are blocked. They don't have access to me. If you cannot respect that one thing, how can you respect me at a different level? If you can't respect me when I'm right here, how can you respect me when I'm up here?
Yes.
Make it make sense. Because right now it just don't.
And that goes back though to like what a toxic relationship is, because they're treating you, the family members who just disregarded your request for that one request, just don't talk to me, I'm just getting my feelings out, just let me have this. Let me have this. I've done so much for this family. I've done so much in my 20-something years of living. Just let me have this one thing. But they couldn't give that to you because they still saw you as little Lacey. saw you
It-
at elementary school, middle school, high school, not the grown woman, a mother, a wife that you are. And that's the thing. It's like in relationships evolve. If you're not
yes.
willing to involve a relationship, then I'm confused.
People evolve, people change.
Yes.
If a person is still the same, listen, if a person in their 50s is still the same way they were in their teens, something is not right and they really need to go get checked out because their brain is not functioning as it should. It's not hitting certain milestones. But if you physically see this person, excelling in life and just doing it, but yet you want to keep them in a prison, you want to keep them in a state that makes you comfortable. Let's talk about that. People keeping you in a state that makes them comfortable, not allowing you to grow because they can't take it. But when we have our boundaries, you have no other choice but to take it because this is what it is. Either you're going to get with it or sis, guess what? I'm going to go. Because the way my boundaries are set up, I don't have time to sit here to convince you to respect me. I don't have time to sit here to convince you to say, hey, these are my boundaries and you need to respect them. And if you don't respect them, then this is what's going to happen. No, it's one and done. That's how you got to be with your boundaries. You can't let people get time after time. You can't do that. I had boundaries with my friends. I said, you cross me one time, it's done. Like, I'm done. And I remember when I had told my mom, this boundary that I had with friends, she was like, that sounds really harsh. And I'm just like, why would I give a person more than one chance to screw me over? And I'm so glad that I had that personal policy. And I'm so glad that I had that boundary because it saves me from heartache. I recently had a friend, an ex-friend that tried to come back into my life thinking that we can pick up where we left off. But sis, just because you're still there doesn't mean I'm still there. And for you to try to identify with me in the state where I used to be, that shows me that you're not growing.
Y'all ain't not on the same level anymore. And you don't have it. And that's probably what the shift happened because you were elevating as they were trying to stay the same. And I love that you said, sister, because that's just not in friendships. That's in every relationship that you may have people who want to keep you in this place because it makes them feel comfortable. And that is so mind blowing to me. Like, why aren't you happy when I am exceeding, when I'm excelling? Why do you want to keep me? Would you rather see me stagnant?
Because it just makes me too uncomfortable to see you thriving. Oh,
because they're not.
But did they hear that though? It makes me uncomfortable to see you thriving. It makes me uncomfortable to see you happy.
That is wild.
I want that for you, but I never pictured you get there.
Amber, it's not wild. It's not wild when you think of what envy is.
Hold on, but because Sister Lacey, when you said that, I felt that, and I feel like a lot of people experience that. So say it one more again for the people in the back.
Listen, hold on. What did I say? I said, they say I want the best for you, but I just didn't imagine you'd get there. And especially if you get there, like God forbid you get there sooner than they expect.
Yes.
I didn't expect you get here so quickly. I didn't expect that you realize how awesome you are. Listen, I just saw this. I gotta pull up this meme, but let me find it, child. But I'm gonna share this with you. But
while you're searching, I just want to say that I heard somebody on TikTok because TikTok got everybody on the channel.
I'm not the only one. Okay,
you're not. Follow me on TikTok, y'all.
Yes, make sure you look in the description. You'll have all the links to our TikToks, all of our social media.
Instagram, TikTok. But I heard somebody on TikTok say envy is just showing. It's just a person displaying their own personal inadequacies against someone or something like that. It's like if a person is envious somebody else, they're more concerned about their own personal inadequacies than they are about the person's accomplishments. They feel inadequate. They feel a lack.
Mhm.
That's why these envious people, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you," but really just like, "Ugh, like she thinks she's better than us." Da da da. Say all this stuff behind your back because they feel inadequate,
Mm,
and I think that's telling for a person who cannot respect somebody else's boundaries.
Yes.
right. And
Agree.
that's so sad. And we've got to know how to discern that.
Mhm.
We've got to know. We got to learn. You know, we got to learn how to see who's real for us. We got to learn how to see the real love from the fake love.
Yes.
And you want to know a great way to see the real love from the fake love?
How
What,
that's sister.
See who's there with you when you're at the bottom and at the top.
girl? Yes, the one who stayed.
See who's
So
standing
y'all
next
see
to
this?
you.
Y'all see this right here?
Mm.
It says, I wasn't taught how wonderful I am, so excuse me for being extra now that I found out. And
Facts.
a lot of people, they want to say you acted funny because
Mhm.
you don't allow certain things, or they might say you be an extra. But just go ahead and excuse me. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't taught how wonderful I am. But now that I know how, oh damn, it went too far. But now that I know how wonderful I am, excuse me while I show out. Excuse me while I advocate for myself.
Mhm.
Excuse me while I don't allow you to treat me the way that I used to allow you to treat me.
Right.
Period. I really, I'm glad that you found this because I really resonate with that. And I feel like, I mean, I've probably always extra as a child, but I feel like I'm even more extra, especially when I'm like looking in the mirror and like saying like, "You're beautiful, I love you," all this just talking about me. I dance. I'd be like, okay, get it, girl. I like go in because I wasn't taught that. I wasn't taught to love my body the way it is in every shape and form it may be. I wasn't taught that. I was taught that if I didn't look like a model, then I wasn't good enough. I couldn't be, anything really outside of that.
Mm,
So if I gain any weight, it's I thought you want to be a model. You got a little push there. And as I look back on the pictures when I was younger, I was so skinny, y'all. So
Yeah.
skinny. But still being talked about. From my hair, from the crown of my head to the sole of my feet was talked about, y'all. But you know what? What I did, I talked to myself from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet and love myself. And I'm extra with it.
What that song
period.
say?
Still sometimes.
Encourage yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? And because you've been pouring into yourself, and because you've been loving on yourself a little more nowadays, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Nobody could come in your life and be like, "Oh, well, don't you think you a little too big, or don't you think this, or look, don't you think that?" No, ma'am, I'm just right.
Period. Period. Because I
You
know I'm
wish, oh, you could never. Okay, but we
you
shall
can
not go
never wear what
there.
I
But
wear.
if
And
we
people
shall,
call me
believe I must.
compliment me. Period. This is why we should never got locks.
Uh,
But for real though, like boundaries, like it's so deep, and it takes more than just an hour for us to tell you about boundaries and just give you different scenarios and why boundaries are so important. It's an everyday practice.
it
Yes.
is.
I have to practice boundaries daily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I do. And also, boundaries is a part of self discipline.
Yes. Part.
Boundaries is who we allow access to us and who we don't allow access to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to also make sure that our intentions behind the access and behind the denial, you know make sure the intentions are pure. Okay, and make sure it's rational, because a lot of times we can say that these are boundaries, but really you're being spiteful against somebody.
Mm.
So know the difference between being spiteful and having genuine boundaries to protect your peace by any means necessary. And also, like I said, boundaries, it comes with self-discipline, because you got to stay firm in these. You can't have boundaries some days, or
Yeah.
just sometimes. Boundaries is the
Right.
everyday thing.
Right.
Meaning, don't just let people slide. Be like, oh, I'm gonna let them slide. Because if you let them slide that one time or even two times, they can continue to slide.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, I mean, we've been talking about boundaries as in like a business or even like a society, but a boundary is as simple as that's my house,
Mm.
Yes. Don't roll up in my crib.
that's my room, that
Call
is also
before you come.
right.
Period.
If
Knock
somebody off
before
the
you
street,
enter.
exactly, the burglar, when the burglar come in, they have crossed a boundary. You
Hmm.
did not knock, you did not ring the doorbell.
You did not ask to be in my house. Blah,
Now
blah.
you
So,
got to go.
okay, blick blick. No,
For real.
Yeah.
that's a boundary. Think of yourself as that. Like, you gonna let somebody come in and rob you, trespass against you.
No, we can't have that.
Mm-mm.
You you mean to tell me you gonna let somebody just stroll in here, take whatever they want, trash the place,
Mm-mm.
and abscond with all your valuable possessions?
And not
No,
even say hello.
and I didn't even leave nothing on the coffee table.
Okay.
But no, that's not what's gonna happen. The same thing is in relationships. Like, we're supposed to have um a family function coming up later this year, but my boundary is I'm not going to live in the same space with people who don't know how to respect boundaries.
Mm.
I don't want to share my space with people who don't know how to respect boundaries.
Period.
Especially, and more importantly, I don't want to share the same space with people who disrespect boundaries of a child.
Mm.
Mm.
Because somebody disrespecting me is one thing,
Mhm.
right? But if I see somebody disrespect my niece or my nephews, my God, that's another thing.
Whew.
That's something completely different. That's gonna be hard for me to stop myself from coming up outside myself.
Mhm.
You
Right?
disrespect innocence. Oh,
Right.
Yes. Yes.
I don't tolerate. I cannot tolerate a disrespect of innocence.
That's bruh. Period.
I'm not putting myself in a position to harm me.
listen, my husband, he always say it's all about situations. What situation you gonna put yourself in? You gonna put yourself
Mm.
in a situation to succeed or to fail?
Mm,
Mm.
I'm not trying to be anywhere where I'm trying to fail, child.
Period. I
mhm.
like. I like that. My brother said that because that is so true. And if someone asks you, Sister Dom, why don't you come to this family function? Because this is situational. Okay,
Okay.
this is not going to benefit me. It's not going to be
I-
pretty if I come.
I'm choosing peace. I don't want
Yes,
to choose violence.
yes.
I don't want to choose violence. I'm choosing
Mm-mm.
peace. Peace over
And,
everything. And
and
I
and just that doesn't just have to be physical violence. That's violence with words.
oh
Yep.
no, that's what I'm saying, because y'all see me before my hands even will start going. The first thing that Dominic will do
It's
is
that
cut you
tongue.
down with my mouth.
Listen, the one thing you don't want to do is get
Say.
into a confrontation with an intellectual. That's what you
Okay,
don't want to do. You get it.
especially
Good
a
night.
writing girl.
You
Especially
gonna
a
Let me tell
feel
girl.
you.
you gonna feel like you've been jumped.
Girl, Dominic has said things that I'm like, how does she put two and two together like that? How she use this word and make them feel so small? I feel bad. Just listen. I'm a bystander. And my
By the
feelings
way,
are
damn,
hurt.
why you had to say that? Excuse my language. Why you had to say?
Right. But you know what? The most complimentary thing that I have ever heard, and I don't know if they'll think it's this, but the most complimentary thing I've ever heard about how I use words is when someone very important to me said that they wouldn't want to be on the other side of an argument with me, and that makes me feel good because they know,
Period. And
they
listen,
know.
people say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. You can heal from sticks and stones, but words they
Mm.
replay in your
Yes.
subconscious, in your mental. There's a such thing called rumination, and this allows you to replay situations and words over and over and over again. And when
Right.
someone has cut you to deep it in the white meat,
See,
Mm.
when they cut you to the bone,
Mm.
to the
Yeah.
marrow,
I've learned to
Yes.
be it,
the marrow.
Okay, yeah, the mirror.
and
Good.
and
Go
I,
ahead, sister. That's right. That's right.
and I've learned to be an observer. So I observe people. I observe body language. I mean, thank you,
Mhm.
Human Services, for teaching me about body language, psychology. Appreciate y'all teaching me about body language because it helped me understand what I've been observing this whole
Psychology is
time.
life.
I
Shout
love
out
it.
to Joy.
Watch your film.
And it helped me observe people, and so
Freudian.
it makes me realize why I can perceive things about people.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody might do something to me, and if I'm not in the right mental space where I can't stop myself, because believe it or not, sometimes I can't stop myself. I
Mm-mm.
see words and they just come out my mouth. And if I'm not in the place where I can stop myself, I will have read your whole life, read you
Oh,
from top to bottom,
like a
basically
chapbook.
basically filleting you.
She's a ninja with words.
Like nah,
Samurai with words. Yes, samurai.
and people who know me in the real world, they say, "Oh, Dominique is sweet and kind." Yes, she is. But if you've ever just seen me be quiet,
Mm.
That's what you do.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If you see me be quiet, that's good. But if you see me walk away, you better thank God, because I know there's some people out there. And Amber, was you there at that
When?
one meeting when somebody thought they was reading me? They really thought they was reading
At
me.
the job?
Yeah,
Girl, you just told me about it. 'Cause I was like, what?
girl, they really thought they was reading me.
Huh.
And
They did.
they were they were saying,
I wish
"What'd
I
you
was
say?"
there. I wish.
I ain't saying nothing. I walked away. I know I've been changed.
Mm,
I've been washing the blood of the lamb. I'm different
yes.
because Dominique at 21. I ain't even got to go to 18. Dominique at
Mm.
23 would have stripped that person down in front of everybody. Nobody would have been looking at them the same way. They would have been just. They probably would have let me go that day because I would have. Tears would have been flowing. Tears. I started seeing words and I had to get up and walk away.
Mm.
Yes. But sisters, we are at the end of our podcast.
Ugh,
And I just want to thank everyone who showed up to the live.
Yes.
yes.
And if you're watching this on the replay, and yeah, I gotta do that. If you're watching this on a replay, make sure you let us know where you're tuning in from. Make sure you let us know if you're working on your boundaries. If so, where are you at with your boundaries? Have you been consistent with your boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
If you need help with your boundaries, feel free to put that in the comments. Say, hey, I need help with boundaries. And we'll be more than happy to help you
Right.
because we all work with people.
Mm-hmm.
So one of us will be able to help you. So
Right.
know that. But without further ado, let's close it out
Oh,
with
sister, real
any
quick.
last remarks. Yeah, any last remarks, and then we're gonna do our signature closeout.
Well,
And I'll explain a little later. Go ahead, sister.
well, I just want to do the moment of silence, and I wanted you to bring us into that for our friend who done passed on recently.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Oh my gosh, sister. And it hits home, and just
Mm-hmm.
knowing what we're gonna do at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We gotta have a moment of silence
Yeah.
for a sister of my battle buddy. Her name was Frances Liz Arroyo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she recently lost her life. She was the mirror of, you know, our sisterhood. There, just like there's three of us, there's three of them. There is their older sister, my battle buddy, and then you had Francie, which was around the same age as Dominique, and then their younger sister Charlene, around the same age as Amber. But we want to just take a moment and have a
Mm-hmm.
moment of silence for Francie.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have a moment of silence. And also, as we close out, she needs to know that she will never part from her sisters.
Mm-hmm.
As long as, she share the same womb, same bloodline as her sisters, they will never part. They will always be together from the womb to the tomb. One
Because,
thing about three sisters and that bond that they had and the bond that we have, it's infinite.
yeah.
It can't be broken. Nothing can penetrate it, regardless of who it is, what it is, and not even death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
people, they react and they laugh to, when we do this, but at the end of the day, you and me, we ain't gonna never part.
Yeah.
You
Makita.
and me, we have one heart.
Yeah.
Makita.
Period.
Yeah.
Franchi lives on
Amen.
Celeste.
Amen.
Does.
Franchi
Amen.
lives on
Mm-hmm.
Charlene, in you, in
Yes.
your children, in her daughter.
Yeah.
So let's get it together. Hopefully, we can do it together. I had to keep the
Wait,
tears back, child.
I
And
know.
one thing I just want to say to lighten up the mood, Franchi, she knew how to make some white fluffy eggs. Okay, so when
and
I make some eggs tomorrow, I'm gonna make them for Franchi. Okay.
Yes.
we talked a lot just within this whole topic of boundaries, but we really could go on and on about boundaries because there are so many ways you can construct boundaries. But first, knowing that they're possible to have, that's the most important thing. Um, so
You are worthy of boundaries.
you
Yeah.
are.
And just because you have boundaries doesn't mean that you don't love anybody any less. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you deserve love in any less of a fashion than what you were getting before you set your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
If they, change up their love after you set the boundaries, the love was never real to begin with.
Yeah,
Keep that in
remember
mind.
that. Remember that.
All right. So let's see if we can do it on together on three. One, two, three. You
Me,
and
And
me
us never
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 part.
part.
Marquita.
Marquita.
You and you us
Let's
have
have
one
one
heart.
heart.
Marquita.
Marquita.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Until next time. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.